Hello, it's Joni Rotten. I subscribe to this show, Good Mythical Morning. I very rarely watch the videos, but I always love what they use. I love them because they always have weird things when they, let me find one that was yeah, that's the reason. They have this stuff, 100 years of school lunches, the 60s or the 80s. They have interesting stuff. I would watch that video. And sometimes it's stupid. But anyway, this one came across, and I study human behavior. I want to know why we do the things we do. And I personally believe that the whole world is acting like a school child. And this is based off of my little thing here, human development. And right now we're in contemporary times, okay? This isn't mine. If you've never seen any of my other videos, I just took a whole bunch of other people's information. I took everything from psychology to science to fucking space, and I just started adding them together. And we started finding a pattern with them. And I believe that the physical is doing one thing and the consciousness is doing something else. And on a consciousness level right now, human beings are acting like school-age children, age 6 to 12. That's the consciousness that's going on. So we have people acting like 6-year-olds, people acting like 12-year-olds. And that I'm trying to prove. And when I come across something like this, it blows my fucking mind. So I'm gonna, it's 14 minutes. It throws a couple commercials in, but hell, they're great commercials again. So I'll give them credit. So I'm hoping that because it's, just another YouTube channel trying to get subscribers to buy their $15 Good Mythical Morning. Ooh, but you can catch a wave for $15. Maybe you like it to look like a loop-de-loop. Or buy a t-shirt for only $5 more. That's really what they're doing. I mean, clearly these guys are not, are not broke. But this is interesting looking around the background. I hadn't even noticed before. Because like I said, I subscribe, but I very rarely watch the videos. Because they're just fluffy. And so even if I do catch, I'll watch a few minutes. Skip. And then they're fluffy. And so sometimes so I have channels like this. Another one is Darth. I just have a few channels that when I'm getting in this crazy place where I'm just like, gosh, human beings, I'll watch them because they just kind of, silly stuff. Gives me a, oh man, my back is hurting. I'm putting this baseball on it. Pressure points, right? So anyway. This one, it came across a few days ago. It just popped up, in the side like it does, these older videos. And I saw it, and I didn't, I was like, yeah, who cares? And then it popped up again, and for some reason I felt like, okay, it showed up twice, that I've noticed it, just specifically this video from this one. None of these other ones were showing up on my other videos, just this one. This one specifically, and when something like that happens for me, I see that, of course, as a pattern, which I say, oh, maybe I need to watch this. It might actually be important. And sometimes it isn't. I had no value whatsoever, except that I noticed it. And sometimes, more often than not, it's a gem. And I was supposed to watch it, and that's exactly what's happened here. So I'm going to play this. Hilarious kid test answers game. These two guys that do the Mythical Morning, right? They're cute and adorable little millennials, right? And and they brought their sons who look very much like the same age. They're probably 10 and 11, I'd say, which is exactly the school age children. And they're answering the questions too, and they do this little game.
Can we get inside the mind of a school child?
Let's talk about that.
And that's, can we get inside the mind of a school child? What? Okay. So I'm going to play them talking because the words, what they're saying is what I'm paying attention to. So that's what we're going to listen to, what they're saying. Let's see what they're saying. I got to get rid of this because now, if you know, answer for me. This irritates me. These little tiny bars show up and see now it blocks. And in this particular video, normally I don't, sometimes I don't give a fuck unless I'm doing it for these videos, then I remove it. And when I was doing this one and it popped up again and it's in a spot where I literally can't watch what's going on because they show the little questions at the very bottom, which is covered by this coupon. And so I have to close it. And by doing that, click, I've been cataloged. Somebody knows that I just closed that. Somebody knows that I just read it. And so what they're doing is they're devising a way to market you with these little banners. And the first thing they're trying to do is get you to, you have to turn it off. So it doesn't just play like others. It literally will sit there the entire video. So really what they're doing is the opposite. They're giving you an annoying factor, right, in order to close it. You get annoyed. It's causing you anxiety. It's causing you irritation. It's causing you to feel angry, which actually causes you to be irrational, right? That's all connected like that. It's just teeny tiny little consumerism, card tricks, magician hand tricks that I see through now, right? And your bar was very simple and it just said your word and what you were. I wished I hadn't closed it yet. So in other words, because I can read, I had to see that it was huge. It was as big as this. The words were on the little bar. And to close it, I have to move my cursor or my finger, whatever you're on, right, to close it. And then cataloged. You've just been cataloged. They now know, just from that click alone, they know where you live, which means they know who you are. They know all your history. You don't know what that little click is cataloging over there at whatever, Google. I don't know. Anyway, this was so fascinating. I'll shut up now.
Good mythical morning. Now, right out of the gate, we're issuing a very important heads up. So here it is. Heads up! In small towns all over America, we have put up brand new mythical...
Oh, I don't care about that. Mythical bat. Okay. They're mythical billboards. I don't know. All right, they got billboards now. Okay, so here's the game.
All right, welcome to the show, Shando.
That's you guys. You can say, thanks for having us, or, hey, Dad.
This is going to be great. How you guys doing today?
Okay. There was an expectation that you were going to, talk to us on the show, so,
And I want to point out, and I'm going to sit here and just point out human behavior that's completely normal and explain why we do the things we do and show the progression that happens. This is absolutely beautiful. This entire video is blowing my mind. So here we've got these two boys and they're acting very shy, right? At first. And this is his son. And this is his son. And like I said, they're very much close to the same age. Very close. And I can tell that not just by the way they look, but by the way they talk. Right? They both use the same language. And they communicate with each other very easily, which means the gap is just not there. Right? And so you notice here that they're doing this very kind of shy. I'm not really sure, if I don't want to be an idiot on TV, so that, and the dads who do this every day, you know, they just walk in and they're on. They're like an actor, right? And the minute they yell, you know, not what do they yell when they action, right? The minute they yell action, these guys are already in their character, and these boys, they don't do this. These kids are not actors yet, right? They're still just freaking kids. You know, they look about, 10 years old to me. If I was to guess, I'm thinking they're probably around 10 years old. And, they're not used to this. So they're not on yet. They haven't become comfortable yet. These two guys, the dads, they're on like an actor yells action in the two boys. This is a typical behavior, especially for children. Adults do this too, but children do it a lot. Okay, because children are smarter than adults. Okay, they just can't express it yet. They don't have the language or the verbal skills, and by the time they do, they've disconnected, which is what humans do. It is exactly what we do. We'll disconnect. Every time we move to the next stage, we disconnect from what we knew before. And it happens in our epochs, right? We disconnect some. So when we became, this one, we disconnected from part of our nature part. And then we became this one and we disconnected. So you're actually one step behind. There's always this step back. And what's interesting about the step back is that is a common behavior that happens all through our life. Every single stage we go through, we have a hiccup, is what I call it, a leap year. They have all generations have a skip, and human beings do too. When I see that many things, a hiccup, something that the body physically does that we're still not completely sure why. After everything we can do, we're still kind of questioning that. I think that hiccup is a physical, it's giving us a clue. I'm sure it has a purpose for the body, but it also has a consciousness clue that not just does our bodies hiccup, but our species hiccups. Right? And that's amazing to me. I find that so fascinating. So when we have a hiccup, here's what happens. If you've had a kid, you already know what I'm saying. If you don't have a kid, I'm going to give you the most, trust me, each and every one of these have, I call them nostalgia moments, the hiccups are, when they happen on a human scale. Okay, so let's talk about, I'll go to the most obvious, okay. A baby and a toddler, right? A toddler is learning about going to the bathroom. They're now becoming aware of their unique self, and they're disconnecting from their parents. So now the parent isn't in charge of changing the diapers. The baby's beginning that disconnect. And so as they're potty training in this stage, and they're also getting rid of the bottle in this stage. People stop, majority of people today, right? Because this is today's time. They had their own of these. They had their own. These behaviors were here. And so when we have this moment now, so our toddler becomes its unique self. And then, so you're skipping. Right? And you go into preschool, and what does your 2-year-old start to do? Right? They want to be held like a baby. They want to be cuddled, and yet they don't want to be touched. If you've ever had a preschooler, you know what I'm talking about. You want to grab your baby, but they don't want to be babied. They want to be fully self-aware. They want to take advantage of all their movement. If they have a great environment and nurturing and safety for stimuli to growth and development, they're exploring. They're using all their senses to form routines and times. They begin individual interaction with others. They use language to express needs. They're no longer pointing and grunting. They're no longer crying, right? And there's another interesting thing on E. Preschoolers begin individual interaction with others. Now, I don't know if you know this, but there is tons of studies that show, and it's an accepted science now. I mean, it has been because I learned it in college, that 2-year-olds, right, toddlers at 12 to 18 months old do not, I repeat, do not have the ability to play with another person. At 2 years old, they begin to have the ability to play with one person. 2 to 3, by the time they're 3 years old, they can have a conversation and play fairly at 3 years old with another one other person. They can't add a third, it messes it up. That comes in later. So by 3 years old, you can have, so at 2 years old, they're playing in the same space, but not together. I'm telling you, this isn't me talking. This is science. I mean, these are all the studies that I've done in the past. I just, that was when we had books and papers and shit. I don't have that anymore. So I'm telling you what I remember. Look it up if you don't believe me. But when they start to play in the same space, so they can play, I'm going to use the example of a kitchen. At 2 years old, they can play in the kitchen, but they're not playing together, right? One's doing their own thing. By 3-year-old, though, the behavior changes, and by 3 years old, they can actually start playing together, but it's still rough. So it's still a mine. They still have a toddler, which I have a video, an old one, go all the way back, the Rule of Toddlers video. So cute, right? You'll love it. Perfect example of human behavior. And I gave you some cute clues, and I put China in there too, way before. That was like years ago that we did that video. Anyway, in a kitchen, so you've got, at 3 years old, you've got 2 kids that can play together. So let's just say that, one is cooking and one is eating, right? So that would be fair share. At 2 years old, they're both cooking or they're both eating or, but they're in the same space. And they might share food, but they're not actually playing out a scenario. By 3 years old, they can do that. It's still a little rough, though, right? It's still a little rough around the edges, and that's what 3-year-olds get to do. So that entire year of 3 years old, you've got a kid that is learning how to get with another person. They're learning sharing because they don't want to do that. They don't want to share. No kid wants to share. Remember when you were a kid? Come on, that's the reason that people who have twins buy 2 of everything, because they don't want to share. They all want their own. And the thing is that's actually part of what's wrong right now, because we didn't used to have that in our old stages, right? You had a stick and you wrapped it with some stuff and you made it look like a doll. Or, you kicked a rock, whatever games they might have played, it's not the same as it is today, playing together. So they work that out. By the time that they're 4, they can now imaginary play. And not only can they imaginary play with another person, so in other words, they can fully, and I know this because I watched my daughter, we took her to the museum, and she was 4. It was, last summer. And what she did was they had this giant grocery store, perfect for her. That's why we took her to this particular one. And she found another kid, and that kid walked up to where she was behind the register with the little cart, and my daughter started ringing her up, and they were playing and sharing the same experience, and it is absolutely beautiful when you see that happen, and it's smooth. It's been worked out. There's no more my's or gimmies, right? And they took turns. So once that basket was all rung up and they pretended to shop, the other girl, who was probably 5, she was probably a year older than our daughter, she says, do you want to take turns? Do you want to go shopping? And I'll be and she goes, yes. And she takes off. And the minute those two started doing this, suddenly a whole bunch of other kids right around that age came and lined up like they were in a grocery store and were being checked out. And then another kid came up that was a little bit older and started bagging the groceries. Because, it was set up to look like a real grocery store. It had a real register and a conveyor belt and real little bags, that they can carry. It was the most, we have video because it was just such a beautiful thing to watch, all these kids fulfilling their roles. And they were right in that 2 to 5 years old, and we had just a couple of these guys sprinkled in because, the sands, they're never alone until the very end in an hourglass. So imagine that this is an hourglass, and you got all these 2 to 5 year olds here, and then they come to a pinch point, and then of course, then they go right back into this one. Right? Another hourglass into this one, and then they start to drop. So you've got some kids in here that are 12 years old because they've been they're a piece of sand that's been there from the beginning. So that would have been your 5-year-olds here or your 18-month-olds here. And then they develop faster. They're older. So here they are. They start to go down through the hourglass. And that's why we have this beautiful mixture of abilities happening right in that same pocket of time. That's why we scientifically named them these specific these aren't my names. This isn't mine. I can't think of his name at the moment right now. Anyway, if I remember it. I have a couple videos on him, so. I'm sorry, my back is killing me right now. I'm shaking. I'm in so much pain. How sad is that? Okay. So that's what happens. Oh, that was a good example of the behavior. So a lot of people, they get mad. They get really mad at their toddlers, their 18-month-old, their 2-year-olds here, and they get punished and they get shamed because they're not sharing. And then the toy is snatched out of their hands and then they're, zipped up. I mean, I'm just telling you this is what I've seen. I'm not saying everyone does this. I see some parents do this. Right? Other parents sit down and they try to reason with them. Here's the facts. Here's the facts. A 2-year-old is incapable of sharing. That's like asking them to do a math problem. They simply don't have enough information about the world yet they're still in that selfish mode because these are the most dangerous times of a baby's life. This is they can die here. And then they get, ooh, but I can get hurt here. Right? And then it goes from bodily hurt, toddlers, that's why they're called toddlers, because they're toddling around bumping into shit. I've never seen a toddler not end up with a bruise on their face that looks like somebody punched them in the eye. Right? Every toddler has smashed their face on something, you know. That's what they do. Right? And they won't let you hold their hand. No, because they're trying to do it themselves. They're becoming aware of a unique self and they're disconnecting from their parent. Ooh, it's so beautiful. So I'll go back to this right here. So look at these two young men. And the shyness that they're showing is completely normal. They're not actors. They're kids. They're school-age kids.
You ready to play a
Let's
game?
do that.
I'm sorry I get a little carried away explaining human behavior, but when I know something about why we act the way we do, I get carried away because I could just sit here and talk about this all day long. Like literally I could live stream all day long. You know, it's ridiculous.
Are you enthusiastically, incredibly excited, like Nickelodeon level excited for this game?
Yes.
All right.
They're very subdued kids when you throw cameras in front
Oh,
of
you
them. Maybe we should have cameras all around the house.
No.
Oh, I do. I already have cameras
Oh,
all
you do?
around your house.
All right, guys. Here's how this is going to around my house.
Remember, we watch it every night at 9 p.m.
All right, so we're going to see an
Boring.
image.
Pretty early, if you ask me.
I'm trying to tell you guys how this game's working. All right, here's how this is going to work. We're going to see an image of a real test question that had an amazing answer, and then the four of us have to guess what the censored out answer is before Stevie reveals it to us. You guys can work as a team.
Yeah, Shando, you guys are playing as a team. Link and I are on our own, and whoever has the fewest points at the end will have to drink an after-school snack smoothie in Good Mythical More, which is basically just a bunch of after-school snacks blended together in smoothie form. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Now,
There you go.
we go.
That's
That's
right,
the
Lando.
spirit, Lando.
Lando, Carrie, and Shando.
All right, let's see the first question. Cause. Tony practices the piano 20 minutes every day. Effect is blurred out. So we're going to write down our answers, then you guys can come up with your
Wait,
answer,
so
okay?
right when you're done, we can just like blurb it out?
Yeah, you can blurb it out.
If you've got something.
So you can just
got
like
mine.
right when you're done say it?
Okay.
I
I
got
got an
mine.
answer, but I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from the experts first.
All right, guys, what do you think was written on the test?
He practices 40 minutes a day every 2 days.
Oh, you making it a math problem.
Hey, it's a smart one. 40 minutes every 2 days. He did multiplication on y'all.
Cause. Tony practices the piano 20 minutes every day. Effect. What do you think, Lando?
He doesn't like it.
He doesn't like it.
Well, that's kind of consistent with my answer, which was those 20 minutes suck.
And I'm on the same page too, but I wrote specifically, effect, Tony hates piano.
All right, guys, let's reveal the real answer. He is a big nerd.
That says hurt.
It does look like it says herd.
He's a big herd. That's what they're calling nerds now. Now, you guys both play piano, right? Isn't
Yes.
this the case?
Mhm.
Do you think you're nerds?
No.
Well, we'll see about that.
All right, let's see the next question.
I think my mom should do less of this. You've got a picture that this kid drew of their mom. We blurred something out.
There's an answer written at the bottom.
Okay.
Can't quite tell what it is.
I can.
Okay.
Okay.
So you guys got something?
Yes.
I think my mom should do less of this.
Drinking.
Did you hear what he said? And he thought of it quick. I think my mom should do less of this. And he says, oh, I already know. I know what it says. They go, oh, you do? You got an answer? He says, drinking. I just want to ask, what does that say about society today? I don't know if this boy's mom does that, and he has a reference for that. I'm going to kind of guess no, because his dad's reaction wasn't like it was some secret, right? But I don't have to be, I don't even watch TV. And when I do, I watch like the old shit, like I like Match Game. And then, we've got like the classic, but actually we don't even have cable or anything. So we just use the YouTube and then we have like the little, I don't know what it's called, but like antenna that's on the roof. And so we just get like old shows. Like we watch Flipper. Like my husband and I sit here and watch Flipper. And, Andy Griffith. And so, okay, my point is, there's that nostalgia. That's the nostalgia. Oh, that's what I was pointing out. See, here's where I got off track. That's what I was pointing out about the background. So we'll put this on pause. Because if you notice in the background here, it's not that it's cool, but they have very old items. Look, I have a fan just like this. It's aqua blue. It's beautiful, like one of those old metal fans. Somebody gifted it to me because I like old shit. They got the tape. There's some, this is a very, it looks a little 70s to me type painting. They got, you can't see it all here, but in the bigger picture, you can see the books. So, and it's interesting to note that, here they are, the Good Mythical Morning, and the images that they're giving you. So your subliminal images that you're seeing, when they talk about, oh, you see the checkerboard, or you see this, or you see that, and that's your subliminal. Okay, that is exactly what's going on here. And if you'll take note, if you have never noticed, or now you'll notice because I'm planted in your mind, but any movie, TV show, almost all of them that have that, or that oracle, think of Matrix. What was she doing? What did her kitchen look like? What was around her? And then there's another one. I think of, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a science fiction movie. All the apocalypse movie, fuck all of them. It doesn't even matter which one. They always have the old guy that lives in the cabin in the middle of the fucking woods, quote unquote. Right? So just change a couple images there and you see it across all the movies. That's it. And so what they do is they always have this nostalgia. They have this old stuff. Why would they always show this in movies? Why would they always tell us that the wise one that we go to in the end for help has solidarity. In other words, they're living out in the middle of nowhere. They've already figured out people suck. That's why they live in the middle of nowhere. I know this because that's why I live in the middle of nowhere. And their house is full of old shit. My house is full of old shit. I have weird stuff in my house. I love it. So, but that was one of those things that I noticed. That is a hiccup. That is a skip. That's a step back. That's a 2-step forwards, 1 step back. That's kind of a little bit how you see that. So, you take a baby and you take that toddler step. That's 1 step, right? And then you move into 2 steps. And preschoolers, they want to act like babies again. More like toddlers, for a little while. Every now and then they climb up on you, But then they also sass you and say you're the meanest mommy in the world, because you won't let her have whatever. No, you can't drive. You're the meanest mommy I've ever had. Trust me, I'm not a mean mommy. Oh, man. And so anyway, let's see. I thought we'll go back to this little kid. That's my note on that. And I'll stop this one and then I'll start another one so they're not so long. And we'll go to the next question.